lot better. Wow, that was a long, hard 6 months, wasn't it? That was actually hard on both buyers and realtors. Very frustrating time. The most frustrating time I've ever seen for buyers and buyers agents. But I'm happy to report that we are through the worst time, and clearly things are looking a lot better. So if you are a home buyer, you should be absolutely thrilled. If you are a seller, you should still be happy, especially if you're a sell buy. If you're selling and buying, this is a better time. This is an easier time for you to be able to navigate that. I'm going to break all that down. I'm going to show you reports. I'm going to show you why this happened, what's happening now, what to expect in the months to come. If you remember right, 3 and 4 months ago, I said it will get better. Back in the winter, I said it was going to be a tough time for buyers. So now I'm going to talk to you about what I see for the rest of the summer and going into the fall months. Anthony Lamacchia here, broker owner of Lamacchia Realty, and I am here to talk to you about a Massachusetts and New Hampshire real estate update. As I stated in my opening, things are a little better. I have to give credit to the Boston and South Florida business journals. They were the first ones to come out with an article saying that the frenzy was dying down a little bit. Then a week later, I thought it would take longer. The Wall Street Journal came out with an article late last week saying the same. Now, home buyers, does this mean that you should go, oh my God, this is great. This is what I hoped for. Everything is crashing. No, everything is not crashing, not even close. But it is a better time for you to buy. And sellers, naming your price is pretty much over. It's over. There's a few of you, there's pockets out there that you can still reach for the stars and maybe get lucky, but naming your price and the brief period that we went through in, say, February and March where you could just, overreach on a price and still get away with it, that's over. It's time to get back to being realistic. I have a friend down in Florida, Gerard Marino, great realtor with Cornerstone Properties. Had a meeting with him the other day, and then I got this email from him last night, and it says, sellers are now just making up numbers, and this is bad. And he breaks down in this email how there's a lot more properties on the market and how sellers can't just be naming prices because they're not going to get away with it, and they are no longer getting away with it. Now, that's someone who's in Southwest Florida. Many of you know we are opened in South Florida, or really the southeast corner, over in Fort Lauderdale, up into West Palm, down into Miami. We're seeing the same thing there, and we're seeing it here in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. Now, we noticed the market was beginning to change really around mid to late April because a lot more homes started getting listed, especially after April vacation. It took till about a month ago to see that down in Florida, and I'm going to talk about that in my Florida real estate market update in about a week. I'm going to be down there with some of our agents, and I'm going to talk to them, and I'm going to look at the data, and I'll be back at you with a Florida update. But today, I am focused on Massachusetts and New Hampshire. We do business all over New Hampshire, up into the Lakes region, the mountain region, but obviously very heavily in southern New Hampshire, which has really become an extension of northern Massachusetts. But this was the first year that New Hampshire didn't really act like a safe getaway for buyers. I mean, New Hampshire, southern New Hampshire has been a place that when buyers were getting priced out of Massachusetts, they could run up to southern New Hampshire. When they were hitting too many bidding wars and getting frustrated in northern Mass, they could run up to New Hampshire. This year, that didn't happen because New Hampshire, especially southern New Hampshire, was just as busy. So what I want to do, now that I've kind of gone through that opening and talk to you about how it's a much better time for buyers, and how sellers need to go back to being realistic. Sellers need to come back to planet Earth. Now what I want to do is go through some numbers with you, show you some data, show you some reports. So I'm going to pull up the page that we created right after the pandemic started last year, and that is marealestateupdates.com. Let me jump over there. I'm going to scroll down and show you some different data. Now, take a look at this here. I'm going to switch to a full screen. And I'm going to go back, and I'm actually going to make this even bigger for you to see. We put in not adjustments. We noted where the holidays are because you can see every year where the holidays are. The amount of homes listed in a given week goes down. Look at this. July 4th never fails. Goes down every week, every year. Less homes are listed in the week leading up to that. But if you look back in June, look at this right here. This turquoise line. Just about every single week in June, there were more homes listed than there were in June 2020. But in May, not every week, but the last couple of weeks, there was less homes listed in May. So what happened to the market is it kind of got jerked around, okay? In the spring, yes, there was more being listed, but it was than last year. The orange line is 20. The turquoise line is 2021. And you can see what happened here is it went up, down, but in May, there were more homes listed, then it went down. But in June, there was clearly every single week more homes listed. There were 12,000 homes listed in Massachusetts in the month of May. That's why, I'm sorry, in the month of June. That's why we're seeing a difference in the market. But take a look at this. Even though we're seeing that, look at the turquoise line. Turquoise line is 2021. The orange line is 2020. Look at this. You can see my cursor. We're still nowhere near 2020. And remember what I said the last time I did an update. I said, I think by late summer, fall, we might hover around last year. We might for 1 week or two go over. Remember, this is a snapshot of the amount of homes for sale every Saturday going back 4 years for the whole year each week. We're still nowhere near last year. So buyers, when you see what's going on in the market and you start to see more choices and you start to say crazy off the wall things like, this is it, the market's crashing, you're wrong. And this is why you're wrong. You're misguided. I'll say it more nicely. No, I like you're wrong. That's more blunt. But look at this. This is why. Remember, right now we've got 8,000 homes, almost 9,000 homes for sale in Massachusetts. When the market crashed in 2007, we had 45,000 homes for sale. That's 5 times the amount of homes where we are now. We're not even close to that. If we got to 20,000, we'd see a dramatic difference. The market would be tipping, but we're nowhere near that. But sellers, you've got to be a little more realistic, okay? Let me scroll down. Single family inventory, we're still below last year. Homes pending per week. Now, here's what's interesting. First 2 weeks in July, especially that first week following the 4th, we saw a big fall in the amount of homes that went pending, down to 1,500 homes pending in a week. It was up around 2,500 a week. Last week was 2,100. What does that mean? Well, that means that buyers really took a step back in the first 2 weeks in July. And sellers did too. I mean, remember what I showed you up here, the amount of homes listed for sale? Well, that went down right before the 4th as well. So it's, before the 4th, less people list, but buyers are still out there. After the 4th, more people are listing again, but the buyers come back out. And that's what kind of jerks around the numbers. But it's pretty clear what's going on here. The market is going through a little bit of an equilibrium period. Now, when I say equal, don't be fooled into thinking that it's not like buyer and seller leverage is equal. Sellers are still ruling the roost, but not as much. It's backed off. Now look at this. Homes sold up dramatically, to be expected. Percentage of homes out of the inventory that goes pending in a given week. This is a very telling data point. It amazed me, truly fascinated me. All since March, we've been seeing north of 30% of the amount of homes that are for sale go pending in a given week. That's an incredible statistic. I just want to make sure you all can see that. Okay. Think about what that means. If 35% of the homes go pending in a given week, and we saw several weeks of that back in April. Look back here, April and May, 35%, 38%. My friends, that means that in 2 weeks and about 5 days, if nothing was listed for sale for 2 weeks and 5 days, there'd be no inventory left. That's an incredible historic statistic. We literally just lived through a real estate history lesson. Okay, we just did. So now what we're starting to see is things are adjusting and we're headed back to, I almost want to use the word normal, but we're far from normal. We won't be back to pre-pandemic levels, which was still low inventory, but we won't be back there till, I think, next fall of 2022. Look at the average prices. $572,000 is the average. 1 year ago, $483,000. Show that to the naysayers. I know I say it every time, but you got to understand my position. I make bold predictions about the real estate market. And when I get criticized, it gets my blood pressure going. I said 50 times last spring, we're not going to see prices go off a cliff. I was certain, and look what's happened. And all the articles out there pointed otherwise. Well, remember, articles tend to lag what actually happens. And I'm going to bring the screen back to me for a minute. News stories tend to lag what's actually happening. So I give the Wall Street Journal a lot of credit, and the business journals, I read it in the South Florida and Boston. I'm sure it was in the other major cities as well. I give them a lot of credit for writing that article in the last week or the last 10 days. It's things that I was talking about back in June and May, but you can't expect them to see things as fast as I do. I'm ground level. I'm talking to our realtors every day. I'm talking to realtors all over the country every day. I've got a friend who has a wonderful company, John L. Scott, in the Pacific Northwest, one of the greatest privately held companies in the nation. And he and I have been trading data, and it's fascinating to see how over on the West Coast, Northwest, the same thing's happening. And I'm literally looking at the stats, and they're almost identical. And I'm hearing it in Colorado and San Diego and all these different places. Sellers are starting to have to make price adjustments. They're starting to have to actually evaluate what the prices are in their neighborhood and be more careful and not overdo it, because if they overdo it, they won't sell. Here's a fact, sellers. You price correctly over the next 2 or 3 months, you'll sell right away, and you'll likely still sell over asking price. You price too high, you might not sell. You might still get away with it. But now it's a 50-50. You follow me? Months back, you could still sell. You could get lucky. But now it's different. If your neighbor's house sold for a price that you said, I can't believe it sold for that, and you're a realtor, let's say a Lamacchia realtor tells you that was a very, very high price. Well, it's possible that at this moment it won't sell for that. Now, does that mean that prices have fallen? No, it doesn't. You got to look at how prices fluctuate throughout the year. I'm going to bring you back to the screen because I want to make sure we don't have any misconceptions here. Take a look at the way pricing works. Home prices they're not a flat line throughout the year. They don't go up on January 1st and say, oh, I'm going to go up 10% because that's what I'm supposed to do. No. They tend to peak in the summer. Look at all of these years. They tend to go up in the summer. Now, does that mean the prices are actually higher in the summer? No. It means they're a little higher in the spring. They close in the summer. This is when the close statistics hit. And then they cool off a little bit in the fall months. Now, last year, because of the excessively low inventory, we went up the whole year. I will tell you with certainty, we will continue to go up or maintain the same for at least 60 to 90 more days. I doubt we'll see these years how it tends to dip slightly, just a little bit. I don't think we'll see that. We'll probably level off. We're going to stay around mid to high 500s in Massachusetts, which is just, look at this. Go back in the data. 2000, this is 10 years of data. Go back to 2014. Look at how much they dipped here. I remember that. Rates went up. The market was on the way to recovering, and rates went up, and look what happened to prices. There was an adjustment period. So now let me scroll down a little further. And we have all this data here. I'm not going through all of it. I don't want to bore everyone to death. But look at what's happening here. Look at June. Homes pending down from last year. Okay? Down 6%. Now, part of that's because it was like people got taken off their leashes in the beginning of June last year. Okay? But that's interesting. Part of what happened in our market here in the last 90 days, remember, there's several factors, but there's really like 3 main ones that create an adjustment in why there's less buyers. People find homes. They buy homes. Okay, so 2,500, 3,000 people a week finding homes. But then there's also people that get so frustrated that they end up coming out of the market. Buyers, those of you who came out of the market and signed another lease and re-rented a place, say in April, you made a mistake. Now, I understand that some of you had no choice. Okay, you had no choice. You had to do it because your lease was going to expire. But you're going to run into a similar situation next winter. It will not be as bad. Now, let's take a look at New Hampshire. Then we're going to look at some June housing reports, and I'm going to tell you my summer predictions. So don't go away, okay? I'm going to quickly go through New Hampshire. New Hampshire data is a little bit more limited. So I'm going to walk you through this pretty quickly. Look at the amount of homes listed. Not much different than last year. Remember, last year, New Hampshire did not slow down as much as Massachusetts when the pandemic was roaring in the early spring. Remember, orange is 2020, turquoise is 21. Last week, 641 homes listed. A couple weeks before, with July 4th, listed homes went down. Pendings, similar. It looks like peak of pendings in a given week in New Hampshire was that last week in June. That's interesting, right before the 4th. Now you see homes sold trending strong. Look at average sale price, well over 400, probably 425. This is what, by week, but clearly it's a lot higher. We need to get that graphic updated. That says 20 there, so we're going to get that extended by the next time that I see you. But what's happening here in New Hampshire is what I mentioned before. Southern New Hampshire has become an extension of Massachusetts. It's been going on for 25 years, but especially in the last 5 or 10 years, or really 3 or 4 years, there's been a lot of emphasis and a lot of people that have gone up to Southern New Hampshire because they've gotten frustrated with Massachusetts. And they've had several reasons to do that, but pricing has been part of it. Now, let's take a look at the June housing report for both Massachusetts and New Hampshire. I want to show that to you because there's some interesting data in there, some that I've already talked about, but this is pretty cool. Check this out. And it goes to show what an incredible recovery and what a historic event we've lived through here. Look at this. Massachusetts home sales up 51% in June. Now, does that mean that, you look at that and you say, well, wait, I thought we had no inventory. How could home sales be up? Well, remember, a lot of inventory is selling the second it comes on the market. A lot of inventory this year has sold before it's even been listed. We've had a lot of that here at our company, at Lamacchia Realty, our Lamacchia Link system that connects buyers and sellers before homes are often before homes are even listed, has been a huge success. But also part of that is last year, everybody was in hibernation in April and May. And that's why the homes sold didn't really start roaring until we got in July. If you remember right, I said this a year ago, and now we're living it. But, I mean, sales in all three categories. Single families up 40%, condos up 75%, multifamilies up 91% over last June. So anyone who thought the real estate market was dying and we were going off a cliff like in 08, well, you've got to think different, my friend. Look at this, 572 average sale price. I just mentioned that, up 18% from a year ago. Massachusetts, homes sold, average price. We talked about this. Look at this, last year, 7,300 homes sold. But even think about that. This shows the pure strength of the real estate market. Even last year, when things were at their worst, people weren't even out and about. 7,300 homes sold. June of 2020, that's extraordinary considering that everybody was home. Homes listed, I talked about that. They were up 12,000 homes listed compared to, I have it right here, 10,000 last year. And that's part of what happened. Some buyers pulled back, buyers found homes, and more homes got listed in June. And that's why we're going through a bit of an equilibrium period. Already showed you this. Price changes. Now look, this is interesting. Price changes on homes up 23%, meaning people adjusting their price from one price down to another. Okay? There will be more of those in July. Remember I said that. You will see a very high amount of price. I'm going to predict, going out on a limb here, but I'm going to predict that there will be more price adjustments this month and the month of July than any single month back to the fall of 19. Lindsay, let's get me on the record. Let's see if I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'll say it on camera next month when I do an update. But I am going to predict that price adjustments will be the highest they've been since probably September, October 2019, maybe even summer of 19. And there's a reason for that, because sellers started overreaching too much. We're still seeing it. My friend Gerard mentioned it, right? New Hampshire home sales up 10% in the month of June. Same factors apply here. Look at that. 2,500 homes sold compared to 2,200. What's ahead? All right. Now I'm going to get off of this and I'm going to talk to you about what's ahead. What we just went through for the last 2 weeks was a lot of people going on vacation, an excessive amount. Usually we see a vacation week have an impact on July 4th. This went beyond the 4th. It went on for 2 weeks. We also came off of a spring of lots of frustrated buyers. Buyers are seeing more to choose from. The more they see more to choose from, the more their urgency goes down. When buyer urgency goes down, sellers start to get a little bit of a wake-up call. And that's what's happening. And frankly, some sellers deserve it. And I'll be even more frank, some listing brokers deserve it. Okay? There has been a certain cockiness in the air that has been created this year from listing brokers and home sellers. Remember, home sellers that are watching, whether you are working with a Lamacchia realtor or you are working with a realtor at another company, your realtor's job is to tell you the truth, show you market data, show you statistics, and advise you on what's best for you. Their job is not to tell you what you want to hear. Now, we've lived through a period here for really a couple of years, but especially in the last year, that sellers have just been riding high. Sellers, you're still in a good position, but you're not riding quite as high. You need to be more sensible. You need to really look at the data and make a good judgment. Now, Doug here asked a question. How soon should a seller adjust a price if they're not getting an offer on their home? Lindsay, I'm going to ask you to look up our wonderful blog, The Art of a Price Adjustment. That goes over that exact thing. Doug, I'll answer your question quickly, but you ought to read this blog that's going to be put in the comments. When you list a home for sale, normally speaking, the last 20 years, okay, under normal times, you know if the price is right or wrong within 21 days. And you're going to know from feedback. If you get 10 people in the home and 9 say it's overpriced, it's overpriced. If you're getting no one that's coming out to see the home, literally no lookers, then your price is probably off more than 10%. If you're getting lookers but they're not making an offer, then your price is probably off 3 to 5%. Those are things that have to be taken into account, okay? But look at that blog, Doug. It'll give you a lot of direction and it'll really help you. Under the current set of circumstances in the last 6 months, you don't need 21 days to know if the price is right or wrong. You need about 3 days, and that sounds a little ridiculous. And I understand that sellers want to give things more time, and that's fine, and I recommend it just to feel certain about it. But truth be told, a real good expert listing agent, they know within 10 days. They know within 1 week. They know based on activity, feedback, and urgency from buyers. That's how they know. So it's very important that you look at the comparative sales in your neighborhood, evaluate them, and go in a competitive spot. If everything in your neighborhood is selling between $750 and $800, price at $749. Watch what happens. There's still bidding wars going on, my friends. The people that are pricing right are still getting bidding wars. And I have news for you. Those who price right, they sell for more. I've told you all before, when we list properties that we buy through Lamacchia Development, through our Offer Now program, we always price on the low side of the range, every time. Mike McGrory's our vice president of that company, does a great job running it, running all our projects. Mike's a master pricer. When he looks and he sees where it should be priced, he prices it accordingly. Doesn't even run the price by me, because him and I agreed. Whatever the range is, you price on the low side. And that's how we do it. And that's how you create bidding wars. When you create bidding wars, you sell for more. Remember, more marketing equals more demand equals more money for home sellers. So when you list with a company like Lamacchia Realty that does more marketing than any company out there, I don't care who it is, it's not even close. There's no one that touches us with marketing. Television, billboards, online, it's not even close. When you list with a company like ours that is exposing your home to thousands of buyers, if it's not selling, you have to take a look at the price, because we're not testing our marketing, folks. We're testing the price. That's what we're testing. So hopefully that gives you all a good update. I will tell you that I took a peek at our mid-year reports that Cole Gagaro, our marketing manager for Lamacchia Realty, is releasing next week. I took a little peek yesterday, and it's clear things are up. Some interesting mid-year data coming out for Massachusetts and New Hampshire and Florida and all kinds of places. And those reports will be out soon. So if you have other questions, put them in the comments. Look, Jennifer Harding, she's our representative from leading real estate companies of the world. She said, buyer fatigue, but they still want to buy. That's a great way to put it. What she's saying is buyers got tired of this spring. They got sick of it. Okay, and that's why many pulled back. But the smart ones, maybe they pulled back a little, took a little break over the last couple of weeks, but they're back out. We saw a big difference this past weekend. It was very busy. So you're going to see a lot of activity. Pending sales will go up dramatically in the next 2 weeks, and it will continue to be a very, very busy summer. And as I talked about, prices will stay the same, maybe even tick up as the closed sales come in over the next few weeks. So if you're a buyer, you should be happy. If you're a seller who's also buying, you should be happy because now you can pull it off a lot easier. If you're a seller who waited, well, you'll still sell for a lot, but maybe not as much as you would have 3 or 4 months ago, but that's okay. Not everything is about money. Thank you, my friends. I will be doing an update right here next Wednesday, South Florida market update, and I will be back to see you all in about a month's time. Thank you. Have a great day. Happy home buying and happy home selling.